Hey everybody, this is Brent King here, and we're going to talk today about what you need to know to prepare 1099s for your business. This is going to be a very high-level overview. We could easily spend a few hours talking about this topic, but instead I'm just going to talk about the important things, and we'll try to cover it pretty quickly. First of all, why should you care? Well, first of all, there's this thing called the tax gap. What that means is this is a gap between what the IRS believes is owed for taxes and what they are actually getting for taxes. That gap is called the tax gap. And that gap is created primarily due to underreporting of income. And that's why the IRS cares. And now why that matters to you is all those little business owners, the fly-by-night owners who are not paying their fair share of taxes, you know them, the ones taking cash, they're not charging sales tax. Well, they're causing your taxes, causing you to pay more in taxes. And that's one reason why you should care about the tax gap. You want to report this stuff to help kind of close that in. But the real reason is the IRS knows this is a big deal. And if it's reported on a 1099, it's far more likely to hit the return, which they can then see. And so they provide you as a business owner incentives to file these forms. And their incentives are basically they're going to penalize you if you don't. The current penalty is about $600 per form for failure to file. I'm going to repeat that, $600 per form for failure to file. What that means is that if you've got 5 vendors, that's going to be a $3,000 per year penalty. If they do a 3-year audit, you got a $9,000 penalty just for failure to file this, excluding any other issues on your return. So when in doubt, I say let's send them out to help protect you. Now, the other thing is, if you've not heard, the IRS is getting about $80 billion of funding over the next several years. And of that, take a look at this. Enforcement, $45 billion, almost 57% of their new funding is going to go towards enforcement. So what that means is they are going to be looking at issues like this more so in the future. The other reason why you need to care, you may not be aware of this, but on your Schedule C, there is a question that says, did you make any payments during 2022 that would require you to file a Form 1099, yes or no? And if yes, did you file all those forms, yes or no? Your preparer might be checking this. I recommend 1099s very highly because this has to be answered. And not only that, you have to sign at the bottom that under penalties of perjury, your return is accurate. So this is a big deal. You want to review for this and make sure you're complying. So who needs to send a Form 1099? Well, business owners and landlords. Business owners, that's simple. Landlords, that's kind of a gray area. Basically, if you have a profitable, if you've got a profitable rental business, and we're claiming what's called the QBI deduction on your return, the QBI deduction is for businesses, then in order to get that benefit to help protect it, you need to send out 1099s. If you're a landlord or if you own property and you're not sure, then give me a call. If you have someone else prepare your return and you aren't claiming this and you're profitable, we should really talk because you're missing out on some deductions. Who do you need to send a 1099 to? Well, this is going to be for business payments for services, rents, prizes, and awards. For services, that's pretty simple. Things like independent contractors immediately come to mind, but that's not it. There's more. There's basically like accounting services. For example, if you pay someone to prepare your taxes and it's more than $600 during the year, that needs a 1099. Now, I take care of that for my clients when I prepare your 1099s. But that's something a lot of people miss. Legal services, if that exceeds $600. Or, for example, let's say you have a work truck and you take your work truck to a mechanic to get a repair on it. You know, it's very easy to hit $600 for stuff like that. They need a 1099. Rents, that's one that so many people miss. If you rent real estate and your rents are over $600, which it's probably going to be, if you rent a storage unit, or if you rent tangible personal property, if you rent a piece of equipment for a job, those payments potentially need a 1099, or prizes and awards that exceed $600. It's not as likely, but it does happen on occasion. There's more to this, but these are the primary areas. Now, let's talk about how to review your records for potential 1099s. We'll talk first about QuickBooks Online, and I'm going to switch over to QuickBooks real quick. So I'm going to hit pause, and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. This is a QuickBooks Online file, and the process is very similar for desktop. This is not real data, so I'm not using any client data or anything like that. Your view in QuickBooks Online might be a little bit different, but these are the same steps that you're looking for. You're going to look for the Reports menu, which in my view looks like this. Yours might be under the Business Overview. but you're looking for reports. Once you get to reports, you can go over here to this little search box. You're going to look for an expenses by vendor summary. And there it is right there, expenses by vendor summary. You click on it, and by the way, if you're not using the reporting feature of your QuickBooks file, you are missing out. We should definitely talk. So this is your expenses by vendor summary. This is going to show all your payments to your vendors during the year. We're going to change our reporting period to last fiscal year. And we're going to change it to a cash basis because just about everybody's on a cash basis. We're going to click on Run Report. And this gives us everything in alphabetical order, but we're going to change the sort because I want to see the payments in numerical order. So I want to add a sort in descending order. And now we see the payments in numerical order. So this is the first step. This is how you get to the data in QuickBooks Online. We'll talk about how to read this data here in a moment. Next, we're going to talk about QuickBooks Desktop. Let me hit pause real quick. All right, in QuickBooks Desktop, you're going to have to use, basically, it's the same steps. You're going to go to the Reports menu, Company and Financial, Expenses by Vendor Summary. It's going to spit out a report. You filter it for the last fiscal year. You're going to sort by total, and then hit this little button to change it so you can see it from the most payments to the least payments. And that's kind of the process. If you've got a manual system, you just got to total up checks by vendor, etc., just to come up with your total. Got to do it manually. Sorry about that. Can't help you on that. All right. The next step is once you have that list, we've got to start filtering it down. We're going to filter it down and slice it and dice it in two ways. The first way is the applicable payments, meaning the payment types that matter. And the second way beyond that is we're going to make sure and just review it for the vendors that matter. So for the payments that matter, it's going to be, you're looking at cash, you're looking at check, you're looking at ACH or the equivalent, meaning like Zelle. That's the stuff that matters. Payments by credit card and debit card, you don't need to worry about. And the reason is the credit card company is taking care of those. So you do need to slice it and dice it. And by the way, here's a hint. If you don't want to deal with 1099s moving forward, pay by credit card and debit card. So good tip for you right there. So not everybody on your list is going to need one. I'm going to switch back to QuickBooks. Hold on. So I'm back. Not everyone's going to need one, so you've got to review this list, and we're going to filter out for only the types that matter. So insurance is the most payments. Insurance is not really a service. You don't need to send a 1099 for that. Hall properties, this is probably for rents, so very, very likely they're going to need a 1099. Hicks Hardware, so this is over $600. This is for products, very likely. You don't need to send 1099s for products. Now, if you pay them to install something and it's for services, that's different. If you're buying stuff, no 1099 needed. Tim Phillip Masonry, that's very likely for services, so yes, he would need a 1099. These payments are below $600, so there'd be no 1099 needed. Now, these reports are only as good as the data inside of QuickBooks. So if you have some of your vendors mapped to customers, garbage in, garbage out. That's why it's important to have your QuickBooks file be accurate and complete, so that it gives you the accurate results that you want. But again, if you had an ink in one of these names, let's say it was over $600 and it had an INC in there, that's a corporation. As long as you know that they are in fact a corporation, there would be no need to send them a 1099. So you just got to review this for things that apply. Things like utility companies, you don't need to send for that. Payments to governments, you don't need to send for that. Again, your primary categories are going to be for services or rents or prizes or awards. And if you have questions, you can feel free to reach out to me. And my theory is, when in doubt, I'm going to send a 1099 because of that $600 per form failure to file. Let me switch back to the presentation. So we've reviewed our list for the vendors that it applies to. You're filtering it down for the payments that apply. Next, you want to request a W-9. And again, if you're not sure, send them a W-9. The link to the W-9 may be found here. It's on the IRS website. You can Google IRS Form W-9, and it will give you the results. Look for the revision October 18. That's the last one that's out there. Now, if you have a W-9 on file already for your vendors, you don't need to request it, as long as you know everything's accurate. If you're not sure, send them out. Now, important tip. we shouldn't be doing this in January. This is stuff that should be done throughout the year. Before you actually, whenever you set up a vendor, if you go work for a big corporation, they require you to do this. All right. They got tired of fighting this battle years ago. You need to go ahead and stop this battle right now. Before you pay them, get the W-9, period. It's as easy as done. I've got a sample email you can send out. I'll send that out to my clients. For those of you that are watching this video, you're going to have some people that aren't going to respond to this. And so what you need to do is you need to send them another request right away. Basically, what you should be doing is sending 2 requests in the prior year, 1 request in the current year, and that's kind of your get out of jail free. The IRS knows not everyone's going to respond, but they're still going to penalize you if you don't report that. So you still report it. You report with the information you have. For those people who don't respond, in theory, well, number one, I wouldn't pay them anymore. But number 2, if you do, you're supposed to do what's called backup withholding. So you can call me if you got questions on that before you do anything in that area. So let's talk about reviewing the form when it comes back in. You want to make sure it's fully completed. Make sure it's got the name. It's got the business name. Box 3 down here is probably one of the most important. They have the entity selected. If it comes back and they're a C corporation, or they're an S corporation, or they check LLC and over here they have a C or an S, that's great news. They're exempt. We don't need to report it. You're good. And of course, you want it to be signed and you've got your EINs. This needs to be legible, by the way. Make sure you can read these numbers, because if you can't read them, I can't read them. But that's what you want to look for. We already talked about what happens if they don't return the form. So the next step is time to prepare the 1099s. You're going to send a 1099 NEC. That's a relatively new form for services, prizes, and awards. And we're going to send out a miscellaneous for rents. If you want me, I'm happy. It doesn't matter if you want to prepare these or if you want me to prepare it. The thing I care about is that it actually gets prepared for those reasons talked about earlier. $600 penalty per form, and you got to check off on the return that says, yes, I sent these out when it applies. If you want me to prepare it, I need to know what address you want to use for your business on the return and your business phone number. And the deadline is approaching very, very rapidly. We have a January 31st deadline to get NECs out. The rents can go all the way out into February. I go ahead and just send them out in January just to be safe, just to get it done because tax season's rolling. That's me. Thank you for listening. I appreciate it. I hope you found this helpful. If you did find this helpful, please subscribe to the YouTube channel. Not because I'm looking for subscribers, but I'm going to be sending out more information through this mechanism. And if you're a business owner and you know other business owners where this might be helpful to them, then feel free to forward the email to them. Feel free to give me a call if you have any questions, 502-867-1040. Thanks so much. Have a great day.